One bright afternoon, as Wole Soyinka sat in his tiny patch of dirt, staring at the fires, a small black object floated down from the sky. It landed just a foot from his toes. He looked up and saw two crows flying away. In that huge grey prison, that one loose feather felt like a miracle. He didn't just see a bird's feather, he saw a weapon. He spent the night using his thumbnail to sharpen that quill into a nib. He had a hidden stash of soy ink. And suddenly, the government tried to turn into a dead factor, had the power to write again. This is the man died, the prison note of Professor Wole Soyinka. Today's episode is about how a human being survives when they are stripped of everything. I mean books, paper, and even the right to speak. Soyinka calls himself a neolithic artisan, or a caveman who has just discovered tools. To keep his mind from withering, he began to create. He made mobiles, hanging sculptures out of the cardboard shells of toilet paper and bits of cigarette foil. He watched them dance and buck in the wind for hours. He even created poetries, scraps of paper with verses written on them, hung from the bushes like magic fruit. Think of it like this. If you were locked in a dark room with nothing to do, you might start counting the cracks in the wall just to stay sane. Soyinka didn't just count the cracks, he turned the cracks into a universe. But his survival wasn't just about art, it was about maths. Soyinka entered what he called the algebraic age. He started solving complex maths problems on the back of cigarette packets. Why? Because math has no time. He found that if you focus on the formula, he could look up and realize a whole day had passed in what felt like a minute. He literally used numbers to destroy time. However, there is a danger to this. Soyinka admits he eventually punched over brink into a kind of unhealthy obsession. He began trying to relate time to infinity, using symbols he eventually couldn't even understand himself. This corroborates what the Greek professor George Mangakis wrote about his own time in prison. Mangakis said that if a prisoner doesn't keep his mind under control with written thought, it goes wide and ends up by begetting monsters. Soyinka's math was his way of taming those monsters. You might wonder why a man who is already starving would choose to go on a hunger strike. Soyinka explains it in a way that sounds strange. He calls it self-indulgence. When you are in prison, you have no choices. You eat what they give you. You move when they tell you. Soyinka says that by refusing food, he was taking back his right to choice. He would smell the food, let his body crave it, and then move it away, saying, "I will not betray my nature." It made him feel superhuman, like he no longer needed air or water. The most heartbreaking part of this subversion was his garden. The guards had planted sunflowers and lettuce in his small yard. Soyinka saw the sunflowers as flutes and spent days gathering their yellow pollen in a glass tube to make a solid bar of gold. But one morning, the prison authorities, the Grand Seer, decided to break his spirit. They sent in a squad with axes and hoes. They didn't just cut the plant, they dug up the roots until not one shred of leaf remained. They even took his golden tube of pollen. They wanted to leave him with nothing. But they forgot one thing. They couldn't axe the inside of his head. As we close this episode, the yard is a desert again. No growing things, no mobiles, no garden. But Soyinka is still there, sitting in the sun, motionless. His mind a cottonwood consciousness that they cannot reach. Next time on The Man Die, episode 5, we'll be looking at the hanging yard and the final affirmation. We will witness the darkest moment, the sounds of chain in the night, and the men led to the gallows, and we will see how Soyinka finally walked out of the crypt with his soul intact. I remain your host, for sure, Abiodun. See you some other time.